Hey there, Monster Gardeners. Welcome back to Tip of the Week. This week, we're going to be talking about foliar sprays, why they're beneficial, and a good recipe for you to use. So it's always really important to consider droplet size when you're doing a foliar spray, because the smaller the droplet size is of the spray, the more likely it is to penetrate into the plant. What this means essentially is using a product like the Hudson Fogger here or the Micro Fogger is going to allow you to achieve a smaller size of spray so that it increases contact time with the plant and also is more readily absorbed by the stomata. So using these products not only makes sense from that standpoint, it also makes the foliar spray that you're mixing up go a lot further because you get more even coverage and deeper penetration into the canopy. So this is essential when you're spraying any sort of foliar spray. Now the recipe that we recommend is going to be mixing Liquid Greatness, Zeus Juice, and Transport with the miticide or fungicide of your choice. This does a lot of really great things for the plant. Liquid Greatness has 85 different essential trace minerals and organic compounds in it to help feed your plant and help to fight off things. It also helps prevent powdery mildew. Zeus Juice has kelp in it and all kinds of other goodies that are natural and organic and readily absorbed by your plant. Transport is a must with any foliar spray that you want to use, and that has a lot to do with the contact time that it leaves for the spray that you're actually spraying. This is actually what's called a translaminar spray, which is a lot different than just a surfactant. A surfactant just makes the surface water more or less more penetrable, more flexible. Whereas something like this is actually going to increase contact time, and it allows whatever you're spraying to actually penetrate into the mesophyll layer, which is where photosynthesis is really happening in the plant. And when you use Transport, you have the ability to spray with the lights on as well, and your plant won't burn. So this, if you're spraying for, let's say, mites or something like that, mites are very active during the daylight hours, and this allows you to actually see where they are and be able to penetrate and eradicate them more easily. If you're not using a translaminar spray, if you're using something just like Dr. Bronner's or Easy Wet or something like that, it's usually a good idea to spray right before your lights turn off or right after they've turned off. Now, this has a lot to do with the fact that your plants are exhaling during this time, and they're actually opening up the stomata to the widest part that they will be, and they're getting rid of all the excess CO2 that they've used during the course of the day. So doing all these things should be a regular part of your integrated pest management schedule, because let's all remember that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And if you're actually being proactive about these things, you're never going to have a horrible infestation like we've seen so many times, especially with things like powdery mildew. If you hit it early and you hit it often, oftentimes you won't even develop powdery mildew, so you're saving yourself a lot of trouble down the road. Foliar sprays can be done both inside and out. Again, we recommend that you get an atomizer of some sort. These pump sprayers, they work okay, but the problem is that the droplet size just isn't small enough, and you'll notice oftentimes, particularly like with the trigger bottle sprayers like this one, you'll see larger size droplets than you really want, and they just kind of run off the leaf and they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. When they're smaller, the plant has the ability to absorb them, so it's more useful and it's a better use of your time as well. You get a lot more coverage a lot more quickly with a machine like this or with the Micro Fogger than you're going to get with either of these two options or a backpack sprayer. So with this particular recipe, you don't have to worry about pH too much, but there are a number of different foliar sprays, foliar applications where you do need to adjust the pH. City water is often around 7.0, 7.4, somewhere in the just above neutral range in terms of pH, which isn't necessarily what your plant wants. But if you have a problem like powdery mildew, increasing the pH does the exact same thing as burning sulfur. It changes the pH of the leaf surface, providing an inhospitable layer for spores to replicate at. So it basically makes it so the spores can't grow on your leaf. It's always important, of course, whenever you're using an atomizer sprayer, anything like that, at bare minimum, you should wear a long sleeve shirt, rubber gloves, safety glasses, all those things, because even if it's organic, you may not want to have it on your skin for too long. It could dry you out, for example. A respirator is a great idea depending on what you're spraying, especially if you're doing something like with the Dustin Miser where you're doing like a diatomaceous earth or something like that. Not inhaling those small particles is really a good idea. A Tyvek suit if you're in a clean room or something like that. Changing your clothes before you go in and out of the room is always a great idea, because oftentimes these pests and pathogens that you're fighting, they came in on you. So the safest thing you can do is to change your shoes, have a set of coveralls, all those sort of things, so that you can maintain the cleanliness of your room. Something like this is going to require power, so you need an extension cord for this to run. Obviously, if you've never seen the microfogger before, this requires a compressor and quite a bit of tubing. So there are some tools that you need in order to make these things work. For a smaller, or let's just say low-tech garden, a pump sprayer like this will do the job just fine. But once you start getting into larger and larger facilities, you really, really need an atomizer. It's just the best way to go. Thanks for tuning in to Tip of the Week. We'll see you next time.